All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast, episode number 15. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Gabe, Heck, and Manny, and this episode is titled Show Some Love. We discuss our support systems, giving credit where it's due, encouraging others, and supporting our family members even in their wildest ideas. We wrap up the episode with quotes from Eric Ries and Pete Carroll. If you're new to this episode, if you're new to the podcast, thank you, welcome. Don't forget to download and subscribe so you can stay up to date with all the new releases of our podcast. And again, how we kick things off is with a story. About 2 weeks ago, there unraveled a fascinating story to me. This one's a little bit longer than normal, but I felt that it was important to get the point across, so I'm going to jump right into it. This story's an MMA story, so for those who are MMA fans, this one's for you. If you're not sure what MMA means, it's mixed martial arts. And this one's about the underground king, Eddie Alvarez, written by Elias Cepeda of Fox Sports, titled Eddie Alvarez's Beautiful Victory Over Fate. So, Eddie Alvarez has been discounted many times over the course of his long career, but his new world title should ensure that never happens again. Eddie Alvarez is the new lightweight world champion. A few years ago, Alvarez held up in court trying to free himself from Bellator contract to fight in the UFC. It seemed to outsiders like business and legal dealings outside of his control would stand in the long-time elite lightweight's way to finally get a last chance to compete in the biggest of big leagues. It seemed that way to Alvarez as well. And I quote, "I thought I would never get out of there alive," he said at the press conference after his UFC Fight Night main event win. Yet, he did get out and get his chance at the UFC. Then, he lost his debut. Perhaps thinking in some circles went, Alvarez was past his prime. Perhaps he wasn't really ever good enough to win in the UFC. Alvarez never believed any of it, or if he did, he found a way to put it out of his mind and grind on. Before we knew it, Alvarez had climbed his way into title contention and earned a shot at the champ. Still, his chances didn't seem good. After all he'd overcome, all the hurdles and setbacks, both financial and physical, it seemed unlikely that Alvarez would be able to take it even further. Yet, in the 13th year of his career, with only a cult fan following, Alvarez showed up confident, fought young, and won over throngs of new followers with a winning effort. Suddenly, the unlikely champion looks like he could hold on to the belt for a bit. Suddenly, the underdog is sitting pretty on top of the fighting world. The shocking result and quick finish are just a result of slow, steady work and changes over a lifetime, of course. Alvarez became smarter, and so his fights better than ever before. Even though he's likely beyond his physical prime, he's still got the fire inside of him. But he now controls it and wields it with precision. It doesn't... I'm going to read that last paragraph back over. Okay. Alvarez became smarter. I'm going to read it back again. Alvarez became smarter, and so he fights better than ever before. Even though he's likely beyond his physical prime, he's still got the fire inside of him, and he now controls it and wields it with precision. It doesn't usually happen this way, a fighter getting older but better, overcoming legal battles with giant media companies, coming back from the brink of financial ruin to score his biggest paydays, but it has for Eddie Alvarez. He made sure it did. And once again, I apologize for that long story, but I felt it absolutely important and critical to show some love subject that we're talking here on episode number 15. This dude has been in the MMA since 2003. His career started way back when. And he's literally fought all the best people in the world. He had the roughest road to this belt. And the story says, legal battles trying to get out of Bellator to fight into the UFC. And finally, this fight, he's fighting the world's best for the belt. And he made it seem like it was all of those 13 years of frustration and failure. And even though he had belts and even though he had wins, he came out there with a vengeance. Dude, I'm talking about his swings look like it was pent up frustration in each strike that it was like the dude got rocked. I mean, like, I've never seen like a pouncing like that. Aside from someone just straight up getting dropped, it was literally watching a Rocky fight. There was just a small little group of people, but they were so loud that you actually heard them chanting, Eddie, Eddie. And for any of you guys who haven't watched the fight, I highly advise you watch the fight after, especially you hear this story. It will get you pumped up. Dude, he was punching and punching and punching. Like, the dude's head was just getting rocked. Like, he was just literally getting rocked. And all I seen was the ref's hands like wave in front of them to call the fight off, dude. I got like watery eyed and stuff, the chills. When you watch this video, your jaw's gonna drop. I mean, the dude rocked him. Like, he wanted that belt so bad. It was like, you remember getting like two pencils together with the rubber band and twisting them up and just seeing like just go, yeah.
Pencil wrestle.
You saw the fight,
yeah. Dude, I gotta give it to his opponent though. His opponent
had a chin.
Had a rock solid chin. He was getting those hits and he was just eating them like it was like cheeseburgers. Yeah. Like, literally, that's how he was taking it. And he wanted to keep on going. The referee just came in and stopped it.
No, he didn't know where he was. They interviewed him. He said all he remembers is that one punch, and then the ref calling the fight. That's all he remembered.
Remember Sock 'em Bop 'em? The Rock 'em Bop, whatever, the little robot things where you hit them and their head pops up.
Do you guys remember Mike Tyson Punch Out?
Yes.
Do you remember like Little Mac was like, and the way the dude's like, it was like fake. Like, the way he was getting rocked looked like something. It would look like a movie. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it.
How long did the fight last?
It was first round.
First round. It was
TKO.
Up 2 minutes and I think it was 20 seconds or something like that.
There was 20 seconds left. Yeah, because it was 3-minute rounds. I remember it was like 20-something seconds left.
It's 2 minutes or something.
Because the dude's like, wow, here we are, 30 seconds to go. And all of a sudden, you go, boom, 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 boom. He's like, started light him up. It was unbelievable. But the thing is, when we're talking about show some love, it was like the support that his friends went out to Vegas, traveled with him. They had Alvarez T-shirts on. He's literally titled the Underground King because basically no one ever he's beating everyone's behind, and they basically set him up for failure. They were like, all right, fight the champ. Like, at all levels. Like, they basically tried. It was weird. I don't know what that was all about. It just almost seemed like they were trying to, like, screw him over. Mm-hmm. And he's literally overcame every single one.
Shut him up.
It was like a setup, and somehow he came out swinging, bro. I mean, like, I'd never seen anything like it, dude. I got watery-eyed watching someone get beat. That's not normal. But it wasn't even that. It was just because I knew that dude was going to be all right. It was like just seeing, like, his childhood dream. Yeah, and you follow him on social media, you see the build-up, and he's like going for my strap, which is basically what they call the belt. Obviously the back of the belt, the strap of the belt, whatever. I'm going to get my strap. I'm going to going for gold. Watch this. I'm getting it. Go for the gold. Like, all the doubted, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, and then you actually see it actually happen. You can't not root for this guy.
Yeah.
What was his reaction?
He was very calm. Dude, it's like this thing where they say, like, when someone becomes what they always dreamed about, and they ask them, you know, how do you feel? And they're acting normal. And it's because they say, like, in their mind, they've been there a million times already. They played this scene over and over. So that when it actually happens, because they knew it was going to be fact. They had that much faith that it was going to happen that he was very calm. He was humble at the end. He gave credit to the other fighter. He was super confident. He put sarcastic remarks out there, calling out other dudes in like a chill Philadelphia way, because people thought it was cocky, but it was sarcasm. It was clear sarcasm if you actually listen to the thing, because he smiles. But it was the way he handled himself, straight up professional. Like I'm talking about, he knew it was going to happen. He was prepared. He had a suited and booted. Everyone else had T-shirts on. He was like a straight pro. Like, he met like his destiny or something. It was unreal. That's super awesome. Super calm. Philadelphia. He's from Philadelphia. Dude, straight up out of Kensington, Philadelphia. My brother-in-law went to school with him. It's just a cool thing. Like, so we're like rooting him on, and then how it all happened. Like, Kel's like, oh, they're all there because it's basically like Facebook friends, and they're like, we know all these people because they all grew up in that same area.
Right.
And just think about like your home, like one of your friends. Just think about one of your friends becomes something professional. You're actually watching them get a title and win everything, and you go there for your support, and like you're like rooting them on and everything.
It's bizarre.
It is. It's like a whole nother level of, I don't know. He just has one of those. It's a Rocky story. It really is. You had no shot at all, and they set him up for failure, and he beat every single dude straight out of Philadelphia. I mean,
why is that accent?
That's Northeast. That's their accent. I don't know. But yeah, no. So my thing was, I don't know the guy personally. I heard of him. I watched several of his fights, including his first one in UFC and 2 of them in the belt. I'm not going to sit here and say I knew the guy from day one, but I knew who he was, obviously, too, because he's a local boy and went to school with people that we know. So it was just one of those exciting things. I'm like, dude, I'm so excited. By the time this releases, it'll be 2 weeks, but he wants like a parade and all that stuff. Yeah, he wants to be. He wants to be, and this is so smart. And this is what I said. This is so smart because this is basically what. This is not the route Conor McGregor went, but this is what Conor McGregor did. He basically made himself a spectacle. That was the reason why he had so much attention. There was so much smack talk, and he's a well-dressed dude. He carried himself with such confidence. Everyone knows, from Mayweather to Muhammad Ali to all these guys who are the craziest smack talkers, but they're backing it up like they have belts and all that stuff. It's like a magnet. People love it. They just, whether you hate him or love him, it's just drawn to him. And this guy has a different approach. He's being humble, but he wants to make it a spectacle. I just think it's fantastic. I'm rooting on for the dude. I hope he goes on to hold that belt. I hope he does fight Conor McGregor at one point. I think that'd be, or one of the Diaz brothers.
Diaz brothers would be a good fight.
Yeah. So they're saying whoever wins out of the Diaz McGregor fight, that's who he'll fight, which I think will be even better. And awesome. He wants, they said, since he's Puerto Rican, they asked him, how cool would it be to be in Puerto Rico and fight? And his comment was perfect. He said, that sounds amazing, doesn't it? That sounds great right now. He's like, I want to defend my title in Philadelphia first. before we do all that, that's awesome. But he's like, I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. Like, the UFC doesn't bring events here. And if they do, it's not often. He's like, I need to do it in front of my hometown first.
Right.
Bring it home.
And I just think it's dope. Imagine that. And their fear is that they won't sell. UFC, you will sell out. That's a guarantee. Absolutely. There's people here, there's celebrities here that will promote this thing. UFC. Absolutely. It will get sold out. Absolutely. And there's casinos all over the place. I know that's what they shoot for all that stuff. That's why it's in Vegas and all that stuff. But I think the city of Philadelphia will surprise you.
I never even heard of this guy.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, though. For 13 years, he's been trying to get this fight going. And obviously, along the way,
not this specific
fight, but his title, get himself known. I mean, he started out with obviously a crowd, fans.
Yeah.
Dropped some fans, lost a bunch of fans because he got caught up in whatever it was. And he went to Vegas. Was a fight? It was in Vegas?
Yeah.
Went out there and he had a handful of people with him for support. And this is what he does.
Yeah.
Like he was the underdog, right? For this match?
Oh my gosh, the odds were horrible.
Were they?
He was not supposed to win, like at all. Again, it was a setup for him to lose again, just to get this guy out of here, because he's just one of those dogs. And he says they let the dog out. You shouldn't have let it's awesome. Like just hearing the talk. But no, the legal stuff was with Bellator. He had a contract with them. Okay. That was his legal stuff. Okay. He wasn't getting in trouble with other stuff. No. He couldn't get out of the contract, and he was trying to. Gotcha. And he became the only person to hold world champ belts in 2 different leagues.
Okay.
So he's actually the lightweight champ for Bellator.
Still, currently.
Yeah, no one beat him. He got out of his contract, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
He held 2 belts in 2 different leagues. It was the first time it was ever done.
That's awesome.
So before we jump into anything else, this episode is titled Show Some Love. I wanted to give a few definitions provided by dictionary.com. The first one is the word support, which means a person or thing that gives aid or assistance, and cheer, which means a shout of encouragement, approval, congratulation. All right, so now that we have that's the reason why I want to give his story, just because it's thrilling to me. It's super exciting. But so we'll jump right into our segment number 2, which is questionable. How important is it for you to receive support from your friends and family when you are trying to accomplish some big dream or goal?
I think it's super important. Keeps you going, gives you that motivation. You know, you got that support, especially from the ones that you love and you care about, and they're supporting you, like with your projects that you've had over the past year or two.
Yeah.
Well, like your book, your album that you dropped. Everybody supported you. I know that must have felt like awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody, had your back on the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better. It's like a comfort thing. Because at the end of the day, you still got to do it. Like, I still got to put in the work. Right. I'm still one paying the bills. I'm still the one getting up early as anything in the morning and going to bed late. But the fact just knowing that there's people like cheering you on, like, dude, go, come on. It was even like watching this Alvarez fight, and he's swinging. I'm like, swing, buddy, swing. Just imagine if someone's actually in your corner in real life, though, not in a backman. They're like, swing, don't give up, dude, keep going, push. There's nothing better than that, dude. It just hypes you up. It just gives you the energy. It kind of fills the voids along the way, kind of like a little energy shot or like a cup of coffee or a shot of espresso or something like that. Just that jolt that you need. Like, you're going to do it, but, oh, man, there's nothing better because sometimes you're down and you're not telling people. They don't understand completely what's going on, right. And that's okay. They don't need to. But the fact that they're just there cheering you on, it's like that support is it provides a backbone to what you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish.
It just solidifies like exactly what you're doing. Like, you're proving to them that the people's closest to you that, like you said, support you all the way, that you can prove it to them. Along with, you always have to prove it to yourself no matter
Absolutely.
what. But you're giving them something to cheer you on for it because they know you're doing something great, and it just adds more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I mean, there's that excitement factor that also comes in. Just think about the opposite. Like, if someone's downing you and hating on what you're doing or trying to talk you out of it, just the drainage of energy that just pulls you down, because now it's this negative energy that you have to give attention to depending on who you are. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of whatever. But then on the other hand, you have someone who's positive and giving you that positive vibes, who's positive energy. That's just a booster. You know what I'm saying? You appreciate it even more because you will hear the naysayers or the negative stuff. For whatever reason it is, it's seriously not important.
And you're always your own biggest critic of all that stuff anyway, too. Like, stuff you're trying to do, you're always stuck in the weeds of just being focused on it, that you get like so wrapped up in it that you don't think what you're doing is good, but the people outside can actually give you a different perspective on actually what you're doing, and may give you a different thought process of maybe even if you are doing something great, but maybe it can make it even better because it gives you a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the stuff that I heard people were saying, I laughed. I was like, that's all you got? I thought you were going to, like, bury me for something else. I already said that to myself, believe me. I know, I'm working on that or whatever. Yeah. But then when you hear words of encouragement, especially with someone who doesn't even know the specifics of what's going on, you always got that ride or die. They're just supporting you just because they love you.
Right.
That makes it even better. Like, mom's like, I know you can do it. I know you. Yeah. And it's so innocent because they truly do want you to win. Like, the world is not out to get you.
Yeah. Stop
thinking that. It really is not. If you think that, it's your own thoughts. That's you. Yeah. That's you. You're out to get you, not the world. The world's busy doing with their own problems and have their own things. And the fact that you actually think that people are constantly thinking about you is actually hilarious.
Because everybody's thinking about themselves.
Yeah, everyone's thinking about themselves. Believe me, they're not out there thinking about you.
You're your own worst enemy or something like that?
Yeah, you can be your own worst enemy. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
And that's something that you have to chin check every single day. Because some people are like, oh, my God, there's so much I love. They bring it on. Blah, blah, blah. That might be fuel for some people, but dude, I think some people make it way more bigger than what it actually is when it comes to the critics or whatever. Sometimes, though, there's differences, though, too, because there is, like, constructive criticism that I welcome and I need. So I actually call, people for counsel or mentors and stuff like that. But the other knucklehead stuff, the support is just rooting someone on. And then also is like when you're actually involved and have like a vested interest in this person. For example, my brother Miguel was not here. Goose. He opened up his barbershop. I just remember there's only certain things I can do. Like, I couldn't give him, I wish I could have, but I couldn't give him like 10 grand to help him out. You know what I'm saying? But we were there with the hammers and the screwdrivers and, you know, with the hard labor. That was way we can help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not, every way of helping is not going to be the same. But if everyone rooted someone else on, like, you got to think, this person was put into this world. This is all they want to do. This is their dream. And you're crushing them for what? You're just
Make
hating
yourself
them?
feel good.
Right.
I think a lot of it, support is, when people show support, it's almost giving you approval. So when they're showing you support, I mean, down at the basic necessity, human beings love, you know, we need approval, right? That's why we go to work, and we work for somebody because, hey, good job. You know, when they're berating you or, you know, degrading you, you don't work as hard. But if they give you a good job, all you want is approval. I mean, 9 times out of 10, if somebody's kind of uplifting you or say you can do it or believes in you, that kind of pushes you forward for the most part. But, I mean, supporting somebody is just showing approval, and that's all we want. You know, you may not have it in you, but as long as somebody sees like, yeah, man, you got it, that little nudge just kind of puts you right over the top.
It's like an emotional incentive to kind of keep going.
It is. It really is, because a lot of times when you're going through something, you're questioning whether you should be doing it or is it going to work, and you need that little support or approval to be like, okay, I'm good. And if one person believes in it, then, you know, do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So let's jump into our second segment called Dad Life. So the question is, what crazy idea have you supported or reinforced your children with? Or what crazy idea did your parents support you with as a kid?
So, I don't know what in the world possessed me, but I get busted about this all the time. To be a cheerleader, I was a spotter. I wasn't really a cheerleader, but my mom and dad supported me for spotting the girls, throwing them up. I thought it was a cool thing. I love girls, and I just thought it was cool to just toss them up. And I didn't at that point.
They supported that.
They supported that. Like my
I
brothers.
thought they
brothers.
didn't know.
My brothers. No,
Oh, they knew.
They knew.
Oh,
It wasn't on a sneak tip.
That
They
was
knew.
a sneak.
Yeah. You know, my brothers are playing sports basketball. Yeah, but it was surprising. Like my mom and dad supported me. My dad clowned me a little bit in the beginning of it, but you know, it is what it is, and they supported me the entire way. And my brothers made fun of me, but obviously they supported it too, because that's what I wanted to do. And of course, I only did it for one season, and I was into that. So, but I just, you know, I appreciate it. My parents for supporting on my decision of a sport. I don't even know if it's a sport. I don't even know what it's called. Again, I was in high school when it happened.
I think that is an actual,
11th
grade,
grade, 10th grade
that people have.
So,
Whether cheerleading's an actual sport or not.
It's a debate. So anyway, so that was my, you know, my thing for the support of my parents.
I know for Goose, who's not here, but I remember that whole thing when he like expressed interest in cutting our hair. It wasn't like the most backed up thing that he was doing, because at that point there was no like barbershop movies. There was no you know, made it cool thing or put in a highlighted, you know, the male versions of this. You just figured our barbers around us were old, like super
very
old. And then everyone else was a stylist, like a hairstylist. And my
it's
mom
two
or my
different
parents, I think, thought at first it was he wanted to be a hairstylist or something. I don't know what they thought, but it was really just wouldn't be a barber. And he had the talent like off the bat, like you could just see it. He was very good at what he did. But then you could tell when it turned around, when they realized, well, he's really good at this. This is something he's passionate about, is really wants to do. And when the support came, his career exploded. That's when he went full time.
Yes.
It was pretty cool to watch. I know for me, there was like a couple things back in 2006 when I was introduced to the personal development area. It came along with a home-based business that my parents, I don't even know, they just thought I was half nuts or didn't care. They respected my decisions, and I respected that. At the time, I was at my senior year at Temple University. I was wrapping up, you know, a long career, and I got in this home-based business, and, you know, you get like a few questions, but I think they just trusted my judgment after a while, that it was just like, all right, well, he's a grown man. He can figure it out. We support you. I'm not so sure about this home-based business stuff, but I support your decision-making, and I think that was like one of the crazy things. And then my crazy, all those other ventures that spiraled basically off of that one venture, which is super amazing. Now that I think about it, I just got like on my timeline a 7 years ago, like update, like 7 years ago today, you did X, Y, Z. It was me and my buddy Scott were in Baltimore for a photo shoot for our website that we put together that was on, personal development and stuff like that, which is like, what in the world? And he just had texted me too. He's like, oh, you want to get on a mastermind call tomorrow night? But it's just weird, like how things come full circle when you see the support. Even me and Scott DeVore right now, he has multiple business ventures going on. I had multiple things going on, and we still collaborate with each other with discussions. So it goes beyond obviously the family thing. We have sharp friends that are knowledgeable, that are and successful as well, that are still cheering people on who may not be as far ahead as they are, which is huge. I know, like, if you're like a senior or something in high school and you say something to like a sophomore, like that can crush that kid's spirit because they actually look up to you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
To trying to bring it back in like basic terms, it's kind of like the same way with business. We're a super successful business owner who has 15 businesses, 2 hotels, and and 5 restaurants, and you open up your first restaurant, he comes and tells you, this is a terrible idea, it's a terrible dude, that will crush you because you looked up to this guy who's like somebody you respected, blah blah blah. So I think also to take into consideration is not only just family but friends as well. But understand how delicate and strong your support is to people, because it can be career crushing, so to speak. You can say one thing to someone and they will never approach that dream ever again.
No, they'll drop it because they're taking your word of what you said.
Because they respected you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's an individual thing, understanding how much your word carries to someone. Because obviously it's different for other people. Like a random person down the street's not going to listen to probably 2 things I say.
Right.
Whereas if I say the same thing to someone else, they'll just take it to the head or take it to the heart and be like, oh, wow, okay. This guy definitely just said that.
You guys are funny in yours because both your parents was like, yeah, go for it. Well, I only had one parent that supported me kind of, and I wouldn't say crazy, but in my senior year of high school, you had to pick a major, right? And for whatever reason, I must have got like 100 on one chemistry test. I started to walk around during my going into my senior year. I was telling everybody that I'm going to be a chemical engineer. I remember multiple times saying to my parents, and my mom was like, okay. She's more of a realist, and she kind of saw the forest through the trees. Where my dad was like, yeah, Papa, go ahead, bud, you got it. And I honestly believe that he's like, yeah, man, if you want to do it. I believe you in you. And I was like, yeah, man. But meanwhile, I said this to multiple people, and my mom like, okay, all right. She said yes, hesitantly, but supported me kinda. Then I finally realized halfway through, I was like, okay, that I'm glad I told everybody, but that ain't sure as hell ain't happening. My dad was cool about it. He was like, oh, but whatever you do, man, whatever you do. And my mom was like, oh, thank God. She said, and she literally verbalized that to me where I was like, oh, shoot.
I just love how this whole thing's based off of one test. You got 100 on.
One test, dude.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
I pulled the trigger, but I was premature. But I remember telling my mom, the funny thing is her laughing at me helped validate or support me.
The realism.
Like when I was like, because I had to own it at that point. I told like a lot of people for like 3 months.
He told his whole class.
Hold on, time. I didn't even get into college yet. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Temple University. I didn't even get in. Meanwhile, long story short, I had to go into the special program, like a summer school, to get into school because my SATs weren't high enough. It was horrible. I went 6 weeks. But I say all that to say this. My mom supported me, and I'll put that in quotes, but when she was like sigh of relief, back in my mind, it gave me, I was like, phew. Like, man, I said that, and I threw it out there as a dream or a big, huge goal. But when I kind of had to renege on it, was like, yo, man, I can't. I can't. She's like, I know, Pa. She helped me feel, and she supported me through that. She's like, yeah, do something that, that you're good at.
The reality check.
The reality check. But she supported it, kind of, but really, she helped validate and supported me in that fact. Like, even in my kind of, I wouldn't even call it, it's not glory. What would you call that? In my kind of terrible, embarrassing moment.
That was your glory. That's exactly what it was, because you got that 100 and you were like, I'm going to be a chemical. What was it?
Awesome. It wasn't even a test, it was a quiz.
Engineer. Yeah, it was a quiz. He's a chemical engineer.
Oh, it was fantastic.
And what does a chemical engineer do?
He engineers chemicals.
There you go. That's
as far
it.
as I went.
That's it.
But in all that, she supported me in that kind of taking back that decision, which kind of made me feel better and like, all right, I need to do something else that I might be better at. So
yeah, I mean, support has multiple layers. We gave that basic definition, but being supportive and actually caring about someone comes along with those reality checks. Like, dude, let's be realistic here, or let's come back down from cloud 9 and let's get grounded. Yeah. That to me, that's just as good as support as, because she wasn't crushing your spirit, because at the same time she said, okay, but you kind of wanted to like, let's weigh out our options though. Sure. You got 100% on one test, right? And maybe naturally your inclinations probably aren't geared towards chemical engineering.
No,
you didn't do anything beyond that except make Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
that was.
Let me tell you,
mixed with chemicals.
That one. Water turns red.
Yeah, it was the big chemical combustion that ever happened.
And it was smoking.
But
I mean, as parents, you kind of know, like you watch your kid develop and grow over the last 16, 17 years. You kind of have an idea of what they're good at. You know what I mean? Like, they're good at talking to people. They get numbers, blah blah blah, or whatever. So, when you bring that up, and she was just like, oh no, and I could see it in her face. I knew from the beginning she didn't support it, but me being stupid,
she was supporting you.
No,
she was being a mom.
But here's the thing. I was doing it out of discontent. I was doing it out of just, I'll show you. Like, I had a big-ass ego. So, and then at the end, dude, and then it was even worse because I had to eat crow and swallow my pride. I was like, Mom, you a white mom. You know what I mean? But even through all that, she just laughed and patted me on the butt and said, keep it moving. So, like Jim says, support is shown in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, she kept it real.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There has to be a point where you are celebrating and cheering someone on and showing love to them and support in these weird, fantastical ways, but then you have to be grounded too. And I think it's age appropriate as well. Like sometimes some kids will say, I'm going to be an astronaut. That's not the time to say, no, you're not. You're not going to be the president.
Yeah.
I mean, there's let it go. There's levels to them. Like, okay, yeah, you never know, blah, blah, blah.
But I guess that kind of gives an early hint of like, oh, they're interested in that type of image. So you kind of push them in that direction. You get them like globes and stuff like that, but you kind of push them in that direction. You kind of encourage that part of it, but you never know if they might actually get to that area.
Hold on. All right, I'm going to stop here because my son wants to be. CJ, what do you want to be? I want to be an artist.
So you get him paint.
He paints. He got books. I said, what do you want to be? He just want to be an artist. I was like, what? He's like, I want to color, and I was like, oh boy, I appreciate that, but it's not. You can't color for a living. Like to do something, you can't color. He's like, what about drawing? Yeah, right, paint. But he said crayons. I was like, oh no, we can't.
Evolve from crayons to something else.
So I mean, I support his like CJ. There's you can do art a lot of different ways. You can if you want to be an artist, it's this, that, or third. So I can kind of get behind the artist. But when he came out, I was like, yeah, like I just want to color. And I was like, oh boy, I'm not
32 and bust the Crayola crayons.
I couldn't. And maybe one day he could do some wild things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, I think I was like in 10th grade or something like that, where I told my mom I wanted to be an architect. To be honest with you, I don't even know where I got that from. Oh, I think we're seeing like some documentary. I don't know if it was a building, like a skyscraper or a bridge being built. And I'm like, okay, so who's the guy behind like designing this whole thing? Because it had to do with
blueprints?
art. Yeah, had to do with art. And I'm like, that's kind of artistic. They have to, look into things. There's math involved there. And I'm like, Mom, and someone answered, I don't know if it was my mom or my dad, like, well, a portion of that's an architect. So what's an architect? So then we start doing our research or whatever. I never forget, my mom took me to, I don't know, like Walmart or AC Moore, one of those craft stores, or if it was a Walmart. I don't remember what it was, but it was like a little architect kit where you get to build like all these like models and stuff like that. And she did it without question. It was I don't know if it was weird, but I think my mom always supported me no matter what, even at like randomness. Like, I want to be an architect. I didn't even know what it was. Like, you know what I mean? And but that same day she went out and bought. It was like this little kit, like a how-to kit, and become a professional architect for like years, 10 years old to 12 or something like that. It's like a little project thing.
What'd you build?
Initially, I built a house. I remember building this house because I remember being totally disappointed in how unsatisfied that was building it. I'm like, that's it? Like, and then I built it was like a tower. And then I tried to build a bridge, but I didn't have enough pieces. and then I was done.
He used them for the
I'm
chimney
out.
on there.
And that was it. That was the end of architecture.
Yeah, nice.
You sure they weren't the Connects? Or?
No. So yeah, it actually
You had
started off.
Connects.
Connects got me into that thing because
You
that's
had
actually
Connects.
how Mommy explained it initially. She's like, well, you know how you put together Connects and you design things, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, they make plans before they actually build it, so they kind of know what's all involved, how many, you know, the materials that are needed, etc., and kind of budgeting and stuff. I'm like, oh, it seems so overwhelming. Okay, I still kind of like it. So then we just went from there. But I mean, I don't know. I also got told by someone not to do it because I don't know if they meant that I wasn't good enough to be that, or there's so much math involved I shouldn't do it. Yeah, I won't even get into that. But yeah, so that's
It's another episode.
Yeah, it's a whole other episode.
My
School
thoughts were always
counselors.
wild. I thought I was going to be a skateboarder because my uncle bought me a skateboard one time. And I had the big wide leg pants and skater shoes. So and it was,
Jenkos.
but it was like out of random. It was like my mom just bought me a pair of wide leg pants and skater shoes randomly. It was for school. But I guess that was like the fad that was in. So she didn't randomly pick the shoes because I picked them and I liked them. They were Converse. But my uncle had gotten us a skateboard a while back, Uncle D. And so I swore up and down that I was going to be like some crazy skateboarder. And I would go up and down our alleyway skateboarding thinking that I knew what I was doing. Dude, I couldn't even do a kickflip on the board. So that ended that.
Well, kickflips are hard, so.
But I'm just saying, like, I couldn't.
Yeah, if you couldn't do that, you were definitely not
Couldn't do
gonna
an ollie.
I couldn't even. Yeah.
There's some knowledge for
There
you.
you go.
I couldn't even do that. It was,
You
it was
watch too
just
much
horrible.
Rocket Power, dude.
Yeah, Otto.
Otto.
Throwback. Look it up. YouTube it.
But yeah.
That's it, man. I swung for the fences. Missed terribly. Lost the bat. Hit the person in the first row. Come on, nobody else has got anything?
Jim, didn't you want to be a motocross riding dirt bikes? Or no, that was just one episode.
No, that's just how I mangled my arm. No, there was a bunch of
Oh.
stuff that I wanted to do. I never told anyone, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was like I did the whole skateboard thing for like 2 years. I did the whole breakdancing thing for like a whole summer.
You
Did the whole
carry around cardboard with you?
yeah. No, actually, we had them 2 locations. We're smarter than that. Like my house, your house, my buddy Evan, Chooch. We had him on the
can't see
fitness
him. I can't
episode.
see
What
him
kind of
breakdancing.
music were you guys listening to the breakdance?
Oh my gosh, dude, all kinds of stuff. We literally looked it up. That was when we were downloading stuff off LimeWire.
Oh, LimeWire.
Music
Fair
off
share.
LimeWire. We went online, said B-boy songs, and whatever it was, we downloaded it. Like we looked it up on LimeWire and downloaded it. Like it was all
man.
like 80s stuff, 90s stuff. It
Yeah.
was
He walked around with a helmet for a while. Now I know why. Because
yeah.
you notice helmets, you just start spinning. I didn't remember the guy in front of your house who's really good at it.
Yeah.
Gilbert did it, right?
Yeah,
Gilbert did it.
yeah,
Failed, but
buddy
I did it
Gilbert.
with him and I failed.
How'd that work out? Anything athletically, probably you're not winning right
No,
now. With the
me-
cheerleading, the skateboarding.
Me, my athleticness, athletes. What is the word, guys?
Athleticism?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Sporticism. I just did. My coordination was off.
All right, so let's jump into the "What Would You Do" segment. This is being real with yourself too. Was there ever a time where you didn't really want to cheer or root someone on, but you simply just had to give credit where credit was due? Come on, haters, come on. No, there was something. All right, so last year, NBA Finals for me, I was rooting on LeBron James terribly, like bad. And my brother Goose was rooting on Golden State Warriors. And heck, you remember we were on, like a group chat,
Yep.
text or whatever.
I was
We're
in
going back
Florida
and forth.
watching it on my iPad, actually.
Yeah,
watching the
smack
games.
talking and whatever. And they came over my house for a game. I went over to their house for a game. Like we were like heavily invested in this. And excuse me, man, was I hating on Golden State Warriors. It wasn't any one person in particular. I was just hating on the team. Like, come on, man, they're a bunch of young guys. There's no way they should be beating you. Come on, LeBron, you got all the experience in the world. You got, all these rings now. Like, do something. Let's go. And man, I never cheered something so strongly and been so disappointed that I was just like, dude, they got beat. Like, to me, it was fair and square. Like, they just got beat. And I just had to give credit to Golden State Warriors. Like, you guys beat them fair and square. I mean, it was the whole Splash Brother thing. It was unbelievable. Literally to a point where I became a fan.
Right. Didn't you cheer them on this
Because
year?
then this year I cheered on Golden State Warriors, and the Cavaliers won, which basically makes me a mush. But yeah, I remember just being like, I wasn't really hating on. I just didn't want them to win. It wasn't like I didn't dislike. I didn't really know the team that well. It was just like I know these guys are really good. They're really good. They're 3-point shooters. They're amazing. They're up and coming. Like this is wild. But LeBron James was the king, man. He's the new big name in our era. Like I wanted him to win so bad, and then they just got their tails handed to them, and it was a brutal beatdown with these guys. These 3-pointers were shooting from like the half court. I'm like, I threw my hands up. This guy's like on Planet X shooting the ball and it's still going in. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is wild. Like I have to just step back and appreciate the greatness.
Yeah.
And that's what that led to. Literally to I became a complete Steph Curry fan, Golden State Warrior fan, still LeBron James fan, still Cavaliers fan. But I was just saying I appreciated them more after seeing that display of athleticism,
Sportsism?
and skill and passion. It was just. Yeah, and the whole story behind Steph Curry was just like, wow. Yeah, so it wasn't that I was hating. I just wasn't, cheering for them. I was just cheering for the people that they were playing against. But quickly turned me into a fan. Like, quickly, almost overnight.
Yeah.
Because then I said, wait, you have to not just not cheer for them, but you also have to be witnessing history being made and be appreciative of that as well.
Right.
Being so blinded by just because you wanted your team to win was like, don't miss the greatness, you know what I mean? This may never happen ever again. So that was it for me. That was the idea I thought of too.
Mine was in the graduate class that you have to take before you leave college. There was a guy who you could just tell smart, polished, like had it at 22. You had to go to a private school.
Yeah.
And he gave presentations, and I just hated his face. I mean, he was so smooth.
So
Everything
angry.
he said, I hated him because I envied him. So I didn't cheer him on. Oh man, when he was presenting, I was like, I hope you choke, I hope you cough, something. I hope something terrible happens to where you look horrible. And at the end of it, his presentation was flawless. I got up, man. I was like, man, I clapped. Listen. I gave him a round of applause because at the end of it, was like, man, this whole time I'm hating. Meanwhile, I should just be taking notes. Like at 22 years old, he was so crisp, clean, dressed to the nines. I mean, everything about the dude was just super sharp. I just saw CEO or mogul or some sort of executive walking through the room.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm like hating on him so hard. I mean, I never outwardly said anything, but inside, I'm like, I hope you fail somewhere. I just hope, because everything was just so perfect. And then he came and presented. I'm like, you got to fall on your face at this point. Dude, knocked it out of the park. And I was like, damn. Like, hating hard. Like, I was and granted, it didn't mean anything to me. It didn't affect my grade one way or the other. But it was just my own personal, vendetta, I guess. I was like, I just want to see you fail. And then when he, still hit it out the park, I'm like, put my hands up, clap for him. I was like, that's it. Good job, buddy. You win. I'll never see you again, but I hated on you for a whole 3 months of a school year. It was unbelievable.
That's great. I'm one. It has nothing to do with sports or anything like that. Mine is I like to bust chops, and when I go in hard. People's feelings get hurt, but when somebody gets me, and I just stay shut, and they say, "Oh, you don't got nothing to say," and I'm now you got me. I give them credit. I give them absolute credit that they were able to stump me, and I couldn't come back with something to get at them. At work, it happened today. My boss was like, "Oh, you have nothing to say today," because he got me. He said something. And caught me off guard that I wasn't expecting. Yeah, I laughed at him. I was like, "No, I'm going to the bathroom." That's it. I just walked away from
you. Owned it. That's it.
Yeah. So I that's my way of giving credit, because if I could take it,
right.
If I could dish it out, I should be able to take it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I do. I give you the
So
credit.
You just concede.
Yeah, just let it go.
Isn't it wild to you though, like when you start thinking about teams or people that you're not cheering for, knowing on the other end, there's people passionately cheering for this person.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. Like, wait, so why am I not cheering for this person where there's so many people that are in love, or there's something that's not clicking, that I'm not connecting with this individual, but some other people are.
Their passion is a little harder for them, for that specific person or the sport, whereas your passion, you don't have that passion for. You're just giving the credit because of basketball per se. They did a good job.
Right.
So I guess that's like the difference of it. I don't know.
I don't know. It's just weird. I just think there's someone on the opposite side like rooting for them, or opposite. Or I'm rooting for somebody, and there's other people out there hating on them. I'm like, what is there to hate?
Well, you kind of did that with the basketball teams the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Like this one you had more investment in like the whole more of the season and stuff. Last year we kind of like you kind of went along with it because you didn't have as much knowledge, I guess like you said.
Right.
But this time you actually had more investment, so you had more of a drive to actually root for one team over the other one.
Oh yeah, I mean, I literally watched 92% of Golden State Warriors games this whole year. Like I was a fan. Like I literally was the definition of a converted fan.
So I mean, when you put that much effort into paying attention to that, of course you're gonna have much more of an investment again. And
that's true.
That's the opposite side of that too. Is that the other team is doing the exact same thing you're doing, just the opposite way of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's just crazy when you think about that though.
It's wild. All right, so how we like to wrap up our episodes here at the Rotated Views podcast is ending it on a couple quotes. This week, we're going to switch some things up, and we have 2 quotes by one from Eric Ries and the second by Pete Carroll. And for some reason, my reading skills today are totally off, so I'm going to have Manny end the episode off with reading these 2 quotes here.
Nothing like having some pressure here, boys. All right, well, I'm going to read the first one to you, which Eric Ries, I guess Jimmylee, that's this gentleman's name.
I think so.
But the quote goes as this. The biggest startup successes, from Henry Ford to Bill Gates to Mark Zuckerberg, were pioneered by people from solidly middle-class backgrounds. These founders were not wealthy when they began. They were hungry for success, but knew they had a solid support system to fall back on if they failed.
Dude, that's actually going back to what we were saying, having it regardless. And these guys weren't.
Having that support.
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome.
I didn't even know they had that type of support. Okay, Bill Gates, but I mean, Henry Ford, I thought it was like rags to riches type thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, well, somebody had the support. I mean,
No. Hey, yeah, but I mean, middle class.
I know Henry Ford's wife was like extremely supportive in everything he did, like hardcore. Because cars wasn't the first thing he was tinkering with.
Right, that's what I was about to say. That wasn't the first.
It was on the farms. His documentary is pretty cool. Anyway, we digress here. The next quote comes from Pete Carroll, which is a former USC football coach, now current head coach of the Seattle Seahawks in the NFL. So. The quote goes as this: each person holds so much power within themselves that needs to be let out. Sometimes they just need a little nudge, a little direction, a little support, a little coaching, and the greatest things can happen. End quote.
All right, so hopefully you can use those, apply them to your life. Those are the 2 quotes. That ends this episode of the Rotated Views podcast titled Show Some Love. In this episode, we discussed our support systems, giving credit where it's due, encouraging and congratulating others, and supporting our family members, friends, and children, even in their wildest ideas. We wrapped the episode up with quotes from Eric Ries and Pete Carroll. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rotated Views. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.